In this video tutorial, we're going to walk you through the process of installing the Easy Album Toolbox. Now, I'm going to be using Photoshop CS5 on a PC platform, but you should have no problems following along if you're using Photoshop CS4 or if you're on a Mac platform. The install process is basically the same. So let's just go ahead and close out of the Easy Album Toolbox and minimize Photoshop for a moment. And so what you should have done is you should have downloaded the zip file and just copied it to our desktop, and then I extracted the contents of that zip file. And if I open up that new folder on the desktop, in there you're going to see a setup file, and you're also going to see a folder for CS4 and a folder for CS5. So the first thing you're going to want to do is just run the standard Easy Album Toolbox setup. Once you've completed that, then we can choose to use one of these two folders depending on which version of Photoshop you're using. So in my case, I'm using CS5, so I would go ahead and click on that. And if you're like me and you have multiple versions of Photoshop installed, it would be a good idea to right-click on this file here and choose Open With, and make sure that if you're using CS5, it says the Adobe Extension Manager for CS5, and if you're using CS4, make sure it says the Adobe Extension Manager for CS4. And we just go ahead and click on that. And that, of course, will open up the Adobe Extension Manager. Now, I already have this extension already loaded, but I'm just going to go ahead to accept this basic disclaimer, and then it's telling me I already have it installed. Do I want to override it? So I'll say yes to all, and that's it. Then it knows that it has been successfully installed, and that's really all I need. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of that extension manager. Now, if we have Photoshop already open, what we would do is we would quit Photoshop entirely. So for you Mac folks, just minimizing Photoshop doesn't actually quit the application. So make sure you quit the application, close it entirely, and then you would go about reopening it. And then when you do reopen Photoshop, if you come into the window menu and choose extensions, you would see that there's a new option here called Easy Album Toolbox. And when you open it up, you'll see it. Now, if you open it up and it gives you some kind of like strange message about like the security settings for this panel, blah, 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 just go ahead and do what it says. Basically, which means just close the panel and reopen it. That's it. That's all you have to do. It's just a weird Photoshop thing. But once you've done that, now you're ready to go. Now, one little point to make about CS4 and CS5 users. In CS4, in order for any of these functions to work here within the Album Toolbox, we have to leave this panel open all the time. So you can nest this panel just like you could any other Photoshop panel. In CS5, you can actually have the panel auto-collapse. So let me show you what that means. So if I just drag this over here, I have it set up when I click on the panel, it opens up, and as soon as I click off of it, it goes away. Now that's a pretty cool feature. If you don't know how to do that, you just come up here to the Edit menu and choose Preferences and choose the Interface Preferences. And then all you have to do is choose this option right here, Auto Collapse Iconic Panels. And that'll do that for you. But it's a weird Photoshop CS4 thing. If we don't have this panel open and we click on any one of these, then what happens? It'll crash Photoshop. So this and CS4, we have to leave this open at all times, but you could like nest it right here in with our Layers panel, and then you could switch between our Layers panel and our Easy Album Toolbox. I mean, that's one way to do it. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind as far as that goes. Now, there are a couple little bonus items that we've provided for you with the Easy Album Toolbox that you might want to take advantage of. And so let me show you quickly how to install those. So first of all, if we come into Bridge, what we're going to do is we're going to create a favorite shortcut over here. So we're on our Favorites tab here in Bridge, and we're going to create a favorite to the templates that come with the Easy Album Toolbox, as well as the photo edge files that come with the Easy Album Toolbox. And so to do that, we're just going to browse to our C drive. So you Mac folks, you're just going to go to your Macintosh hard drive. On a PC, we're going to go to Program Files, and notice I have a Program Files x86 because I'm working on a 64-bit platform. But we want to go into Program Files and then come into Easy Album. And then for you Mac folks, you're going to go to your Macintosh hard drive, you're going to go into Applications Easy Album. And you're going to see basically the same folders here that you see here. So we have a camera raw presets, we have our custom shapes, and this is where we want to create a shortcut to, photo edges. So right click, choose add to favorites, and there's our photo edges. And then over here in templates, right click, add to favorites. Now we have separate videos that show you how to use these assets, but I just wanted to point out that that's the shortcut link. So anytime I want to access my photo edge files that come with Easy Album, boom, one-click access. And then anytime I want to access the templates that come with Easy Album, boom, one-click access. Now, as long as we're here in Adobe Bridge, you might have seen those things called camera raw presets, and you may have no clue what those are for. And like I said, we have separate videos that show you how to use camera raw presets and custom shapes and so forth, but let's get them installed. And so in order to install a camera raw preset here in Adobe Bridge, what we want to do is actually open up camera raw. So let's just come in here and let's open in camera raw. We're just going to open a file. I just right click on a file and choose open in camera raw. And once you have your camera raw dialog box open, we can come over here. There's a little bitty icon. It's really tiny here, but if we click on that, one of the options is choose load settings. See, and then we could actually browse to that location. So we're going to go to C drive, we're going to come into program files, we're going to come into Easy Album, and then camera raw presets, and we just select all these and load them all right here. So that's how we would load those settings. And then for you Mac folks, of course, it's the same exact process. Just right click on an image, open in camera raw within Adobe Bridge, and then you have access to all of these presets. So let's go ahead and click on done. And so what we're able to do then, once we have those installed, of course, we can right click on an image, choose develop settings, and then we can choose one of those items that we had installed, and we can convert images very quickly with different photo effects that we provided for you here in the Easy Album Toolbox. Now back over in Photoshop, there is one last thing to do, and that is here in Adobe Bridge. Remember, we have this folder called Custom Shapes. And so what I'd actually do is just select these two and choose Copy, and then browse to, you might as well do it right here in Bridge, it's fine. So I'm working here on a PC, so I go to my C drive. I'm going to go to Program Files. I'm going to come into Adobe. I'm going to go to CS5 or whatever version of Photoshop you're working with. Then I'm going to go, finally, I'm going to come down to Presets, Custom Shapes, and then, of course, I would paste. Now, of course, these are already installed, but that's how you would get them in there. Now, if you're working on a PC and a 64-bit platform, we'd actually have to copy those twice if we want it in both the 32-bit and 64-bit versions of Photoshop. So the 32-bit version is found within Program Files x86. The 64-bit version is found within the regular Program Files directory. And of course, you Mac folks, you're going to go to your Macintosh hard drive, Applications, and then into whatever version of Photoshop you're working with. So remember, we're going to go to our Photoshop directory, we're going to choose Presets, we're going to choose Custom Shapes, and we're going to paste. And once you've done that, when we go into our Custom Shape tool here in Photoshop, right here, go to Custom Shapes, up here in the Options bar, we can actually choose one of these sets of custom shapes by choosing this little outward arrow, and it'll show up in the list. Okay, so like those are the sampler pack 1 and 2. And then all it's going to do is just load just those shapes that are part of the sampler pack volume 2. So it's really, really handy. Alright, so that's it for installing the Easy Album Toolbox, and make sure to watch the other videos to show you how to use all this stuff, how to use the Easy Album Toolbox. It is very straightforward once you get the hang of it. And be sure to check out our YouTube channel as well. Just go to YouTube, type in Pixel Creator Pro. There's lots of video tutorials on just album design in general that I think you'll find very useful, and lots of little tips and tricks on Photoshop as well. So definitely check that out. There's also a link on our website. can also join us on Facebook and Twitter by searching out Pixel Creator Pro. Thanks for watching.